The Shadow of a Capre by Jerilyn Cadiz. This happened a couple of years back when I was just a child of 8. My family and I had just moved in to an old house in Bulacan. It was a bungalow type of dwelling with 2 bedrooms, a garage, and a big backyard. The house was ample for our compact family, as it was only my 6-year-old sister, our parents, and I. For a young girl who grew up in the congested metropolis, this new house was a haven. The place was surrounded by trees: mango, star apple, makopa, jackfruit, chesa. There were also santan and gumamela plants planted all around the backyard. It reminded me of my maternal grandmother's house in Santa Cruz, Laguna, only smaller. It was, in a word, idyllic. Our first few weeks there were great. We moved in the summer, so we were on vacation. We immediately made new friends with other kids in the neighborhood. My sister and our new friends had a blast climbing the trees and shooting the ripe star apples with our rubber sleepers. We would spend the day hanging out in the bahay kubo my parents installed in the backyard, beneath the giant star apple tree. One day, I overheard my mother and her friends talking about the house. From what I overheard, I learned that no family had been able to stay in the house for more than a few months because of the strange things reportedly happening in that house. One of my mom's friends related a story that happened to be a friend of a friend's friend. According to her, the friend had been passing by the house when she saw a white lady standing in front of the gate, as if trying to get in. Another related that weird noises could be heard in the backyard at night. Oh, great, I thought. Of all the houses in this subdivision, trust my dad to buy the haunted one. I suddenly remembered how I kept losing, or as my mother would say, misplacing my things. How one minute my box of colored pencils would be there, and the next minute it would disappear, only to be found after hours of frantic searching, right where it was originally. At that time, I thought my sister was playing a prank on me. But then I remembered she was only 6 years old and pretty scared of her big sister, so I easily ruled her out as a suspect. Then something my mother's friend said totally creeped me out. One of them said that a KAPRE was living in the huge star apple tree at the back of the house. The star apple tree? The tree which stood over our favorite hangout? I had a pretty good idea what a KAPRE was. My cousins from the province had already told me stories of a huge, hairy man who is usually seen smoking a cigar. They said the capre would snatch sleeping children and eat them, and that the capre could enchant you and lead you astray. I felt a chill run down my spine. Not only was our beloved Bahay Kubo directly under that star apple tree, but its massive trunk was totally visible from the window of the bedroom my sister and I shared. All of a sudden, a foul smell permeated the room, like a dirty sewer whose lid suddenly burst open. The women exchanged knowing glances. "It's the capre," said somebody in a hushed voice. There was a round of nervous laughter, then silence. After a while, my mother's friends politely said goodbye and left. I tried to forget what I heard in the days that followed, for fear I wouldn't be able to get a good night's sleep. But after that, I took to sleeping under the covers, lest I turn and catch sight of the capre watching me from the star apple tree. No thanks, I thought. I could do without seeing a capre. Our Visayan maid had provided me an ample and vivid image of the typical capre. I was sure I'd die if I saw him. Among other things, I'd probably wet my pants. I also spent less time in the Bahay Kubo. That summer, a few houses in our subdivision were burglarized. The Homeowners Association organized a ronda composed of the dads and older brothers. The ronda went on for 3 nights without encountering much excitement. On the fourth night, with the full moon rode high above the inky, starless sky. On the fourth night, with the full moon rode high above the inky, starless sky, the men once again gathered in the streets. While they were out, I, my sister, and our friends had a gathering of our own. We played hide and seek in our yard, while our mothers gathered in our patio, gossiping as usual. As it was my turn to be it, everybody was safe in their hiding places. I looked around and heard a soft rustle behind the kamachili tree. I could see the pink shirt of my cousin Diana. Aha, I said, as I silently inched my way towards her. All of a sudden, a pungent smell assailed my nostrils. Then I heard a laugh, a deep, gurgling laugh that seemed to come from the bowels of the earth. I froze in my tracks. Slowly, I turned toward the sound, and there, on the ground, illuminated by the bright moonlight, was a hulking figure on the roof of our house. The head was huge with stringy long hair, and the torso covered the entire roof. My heart raced wildly, and against my better judgment, I turned to look up at the house. Nobody, nothing was there. I looked back at the shadow. The figure was gone, and so was the stench. We stayed in that house for about 20 months, probably the longest time any family has ever stayed there. Next story, The Girl in the Mirror by Jerilyn Cadiz. Anybody who's been to Baguio can tell you the city is ripe with ghost stories. I've heard friends of friends tell of their own grisly encounters in the City of Pines. Much of these stories stemmed from the tragic earthquake that shook Baguio in the early 90s, which toppled several buildings and buried hundreds under the rubble. Residents say the stench of decaying bodies stayed in the air for several months. The story I'm about to share happened during one of our trips there 3 years ago. A couple of my office friends and I decided it was time for our annual mid-year break. It had been customary for our barkada to go on out-of-town trips whenever we felt toxic or stressed out from our day jobs. We left Manila late afternoon on a Thursday for Dau, where the husband of one of my friends was waiting for us. He was attending a convention in Clark and had agreed to meet us so he could join us for our trip to Baguio. After a night stopover in Pampanga, we started out early the following day. Our schedule was kind of tight, as we were bent on enjoying every minute of our weekend vacation. We arrived in Baguio at around 11 a.m. and went directly to the vacation house our Baguio friends reserved for us. It was built on top of a hill overlooking the city. It was spacious, made entirely of wood, and though it looked pretty old, it was obviously well maintained. It had 2 large bedrooms, a kitchen, a bathroom, dining and living rooms, and also a barbecue area. Upon entering the bathroom, an icy chill ran down my spine, instantly giving me the creeps. It was cold, even by Baguio standards. I figured, hey, it's October, and tried to shrug it off. Still, the feeling stayed with me. After depositing our bags in our rooms, we went out for lunch. Since most of us were tired from the trip and lack of sleep, we decided to head back to the house early and get some rest. Waking up refreshed, we decided to go horseback riding and do a little sightseeing and shopping. We went to the market and bought stuff for dinner before heading for the ukay-ukay. After dinner, all six of us decided to go out on the town and go bar hopping. Later, at around 2 in the morning, one of my friends said she wanted to go back to the house because she was tired. I decided to accompany her, even though I was still having a good time. Actually, I was reluctant to return to the house, but no one else could accompany her, so I went. The house was ominously dark. I approached it with trepidation. My friend went straight to bed while I locked up. I prepared for bed too, gathering my toiletries to go to the bathroom. I was pulling out pajamas from my backpack when I heard a knock on the door. I went to answer it, thinking our other friends decided to call it a night as well. Another knock, more insistent this time. I hollered, "Sandali! Just a minute!" You can imagine my shock when I opened the door and found nobody there. I called out the names of my friends, thinking they were hiding in the bushes, trying to scare me out of my wits. But there was no one there, nor did I hear any more noise, save for the echo of my voice coming back to me. I felt the cold breeze brush against my skin. Goosebumps broke all over my body, and I felt the hair on my arms and neck standing on end. I slammed the door shut and ran back to the room. My friend, awakened by the noise of the door, sat up in bed, wiping the sleep from her eyes with the back of her hand. "Are they back?" she said. I said no. "Oh, okay. I thought I heard the door," she said and went right back to sleep. This is crazy, I thought. Oh, it must have been the wind, or it could have been a tree branch. With fear slowly draining out of me, I stepped into the bathroom. I was bent at the sink washing my face when I felt something cold brush against my nape. I closed my eyes, hummed loudly to myself, and worked faster than usual. My heart was beating a mile a minute. I opened my eyes and straightened up. My mistake. I should have just bolted right out of there after washing up. For what I saw as I opened my eyes, standing right beside me in the mirror, was a girl. Her face a bloody contortion of horror and pain. Her eyes were sunken and pleading, her hair disheveled. I reeled. I could feel the veins in my temple throbbing and my heart leaping to my throat. My mind went totally blank. I just stared at her as she stared right back at me. I could feel blood rushing in my ears. I froze, unable to scream nor run. I couldn't even blink. Then she was gone, just like that. Like somebody snapped a finger and she was gone. And I was once again alone in the bathroom, the sound of running water from the faucet breaking the silence and spilling over the sink. In a daze, I turned off the faucet and sprinted out of the bathroom. I jumped upon reaching the bedroom and covered myself with blankets and pillows. I didn't try to think or analyze what happened in the bathroom. The sooner her image was out of my mind, the better. I didn't even close my eyes for fear that I might see her in my mind's eye. I didn't sleep until I heard my friends come back. When I woke up, one of my friends told me that we had to move to another house. Apparently, our reservation was only for 1 day and 1 night. I gladly packed up my bags